NCBA takes a lot of pride in being an organization where policy begins at the state and local level. Matt Fleck has a look at this important process.
NCBA policy begins and ends with cattle producers in their county and state organizations. So when Oregon producers were concerned about the potential for problems with beef labeling, they got together and addressed it.
We had some producers from Harney County that wanted to bring a resolution forward because they were concerned that beef was being as little as just repackaged and then labeled as product of the United States.
The issue and concern was mislabeled product that had product of the USA on it, and whether that was verified product, where it was actually from the USA or from another country or what it was. And that's where we all started.
It was an important enough issue that we brought that forward to the NCBA, the summer business meeting in 2019, to the International Trade Committee. And at that point, frankly, we got a fairly little amount of pushback from even before the committee meeting, and there were a lot of people that were concerned, what's this going to do as far as international trade ramifications? Is this going to be a WTO issue? And it was a little bit of an uphill swim to get people to understand this is not a cool thing. This is just, if you're gonna label it, we want it to be right.
As a result of the discussion on beef labeling in NCBA's International Trade Committee, a working group representing all industry sectors was formed to dig deeper into the issue. Their directive? To report back to the committee at the annual Cattle Industry Convention on their findings.
So for the International Trade Committee, we were tasked with investigating some concerns about transparency in labeling. For a while, some producers have been concerned that foreign product was being brought to the United States and relabeled or mislabeled as a product of the U.S. And so we were tasked with looking into this and finding out if this is an issue, and if so, what can the NCBA do to address it?
We did have producers from all over the country and from all sectors of the industry as well. There's cow-calf guys and feedlot guys and packing house guys and auction yard guys. And, everybody was involved in that, and everybody had really good input, and being able to look at this issue from a 360-degree angle was really important for making sure that it was going to be an outcome that worked for all of the sectors, because as a cow-calf guy, I don't know what a feedlot guy is going through, and it was important to have all of that so that we could come up with a product that really worked for the industry. This
kind of showed me the importance of our grassroots mentality within NCBA. We have to have this grassroots. It has to come from our local, state associations on up, and this is what it did. And I really thank Oregon for bringing this to our attention. From our research from USDA, we found that there was a problem. If a product was processed in the United States and had a USDA process label on it, it could slap that product of USA label on the product. So we knew we had a problem.
It was our job to engage directly with USDA, to engage with the retail sector and with the rest of the supply chain, just to get a better idea of what is going on. What we found is that there are some instances where some labels are questionable, but we still don't know the extent of the problem, and so that was one of the things we wanted to look into, is to find out, is this isolated or is this a much larger issue? But even with that, the working group decided that NCBA needs to engage directly with USDA and find out what we can do to make sure that any of that product that carries a product of the USA label is verified. At the same time, we have international trade obligations that we have to respect, and we don't want to do anything that could potentially violate the WTO and trigger retaliation. And so this is a very sensitive issue. It's something of importance, and that's why it was such a priority for the International Trade Committee.
And the solution we came up with was to have, if it has a product of USA or any other description of origin on it, that it goes through a verified process. And we already have that verified process within AMS. It's called PVPs, and that's where we ended up. Our policy proposal, and Oregon is going to bring its proposal back up, and it's going to state that we now want, if it's a product of origin label, a voluntary label, we want to know some type of verification program using our verification system we already have in place with AMS.
Today's meeting was a success because it not only gave staff further direction, but it also sent a clear message of what NCBA's policy is, and that is NCBA is going to support voluntary labels, but we want to make sure that they're verified. We want to make sure that there's truth in the labeling, and that our beef that we do such a good job raising is properly marketed, and that no one else can claim to be a product they're not, and that is U.S. beef. So this is a success for NCBA. It's evidence of the grassroots direction and the producer-led framework of the organization.
The goal of NCBA has always been and will always be to provide a path for grassroots voices to be heard and policy to be formed based on industry collaboration. This process allows NCBA staff to carry out the directives of its members.
I am very comfortable with the process that we went through here. You know, we completely reworked the language of the resolution, but what we're getting here today is a product that is successful in my mind. It addresses the issue that Oregon producers are concerned about. It addresses the issues that all of these grassroots producers, because after Oregon brought it up, NCBA leadership went around the country and said, what are you guys hearing about this? And everybody was worried about this. It was a big deal, and it's a perfect example in my mind of how these grassroots issues come up from a county association to a state association to the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, and it's now policy, and it's not only policy, but we're actively working and being successful at implementing the changes at a regulatory level that are going to make our guys more successful.
I think, coming from a small community in Virginia that has a voice, my voice starts at the local level through the state level and national. If I didn't have that grassroots, I wouldn't be involved with it.
As someone who's worked for NCBA for a number of years, I can tell you that it's days like this that really drive home the meaning of what it is to work for a grassroots-led organization. We get our direction straight from the members. When they see a problem, they bring it forward, ask us to engage, and we do. And so I think today's actions only solidify the importance of NCBA.
From the NCBA International Trade Committee meeting in San Antonio, I'm Matt Fleck for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.